Yes, it's recording. Yeah, it's recording. This is the rest of it. I couldn't get the speech on there, so I'm going to have to verbally read it. I'm usually pretty good at this, so let's see what happens. Again, this is for, hopefully it's going to provide some healing out there. My voice is beginning to give way. I've read it once and it wasn't there. Okay, here we go. This is a speech from the book Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. It's in the book. And it was a very moving speech for me, and I'm hoping it's going to help heal this world. Sergeant Philip Randolph, United States Air Force veteran. Let's give this a shot. To the Illuminati and to those of science, let me say this. You have won the war. The wheels have been in motion for a long time. Your victory has been inevitable. Never before has it been obvious as it is at this moment. Science is the new God. Medicine, electronic communication, space travel, genetic manipulation. These are the miracles about which we tell our children. These are the miracles we herald as proof that science will bring us the answer. The ancient stories of immaculate conceptions, burning bushes, and parting seas are no longer relevant. God has become obsolete. Science has won the battle. We concede. But science victory has cost every one of us, and has cost us deeply. Science may have alleviated the miseries of disease and drudgery, and provided an array of gadgetry for entertainment and convenience, but it has left us in a world without wonder. Our sunsets have been reduced to wavelengths and frequencies. The complexities of the universe have been shredded into mathematical equations. Even our self-worth as human beings has been destroyed. Science proclaims that the planet Earth and its inhabitants are a meaningless speck in the grand scheme, a cosmic accident. Even the technology that promises to unite us divides us. Each of us is electronically connected to the globe, and yet we feel utterly alone. We are bombarded with violence, division, fracture, betrayal. Skepticism has become a virtue. Cynicism and demand for proof has become enlightened thought. Is any one of the human beings now feel more depressed and defeated than they have at any point in human history? Does science hold anything sacred? Science looks for answers by probing our unborn fetuses. Science even presumes to rearrange our own DNA. It shatters God's world into smaller and smaller pieces in quest of meaning, and all it finds is more questions. The ancient war between science and religion is over. You have won. But you have not won fairly. You have not won by providing answers. You have won by so radically reorientating our society that the truths we once saw as signposts now seem inapplicable. Religion cannot keep up. Scientific growth is exponential. It feeds on itself like a virus. Every new breakthrough opens doors for new breakthroughs. Mankind took thousands of years to progress from the wheel to the car, yet only decades from the car into space. We now measure scientific progress in weeks. We're spinning out of control. The rift between us grows deeper and deeper. As religion is left behind, people find themselves in a spiritual void. We cry out for meaning, and yet believe me, we do cry out. We see UFOs, engage in channelings, spirit contact, out-of-body experiences, mind quests. All of these eccentric ideas have a scientific veneer, but they are unashamedly irrational. They're the desperate cry of a modern soul, lonely and tormented, crippled by its own enlightenment and its inability to accept meaning in anything removed from technology. Science, you say, will save us. Science, I say, has destroyed us. Since the days of Galileo, research has tried to slow the relentless march of science, sometimes with misguided means, but always with benevolent intention. Even so, the temptations are too great for man to resist. I warn you, look around yourself. The promises of science have not been kept. Promises of efficiency and simplicity have been nothing more pollution and chaos. We are fractured and frantic species, moving down a path of destruction. Who is this God science? Who is a God who offers the people power but no moral framework to tell you how to use the power? What kind of God gives a child fire but does not warn the child of its danger? The language of science comes with no signpost about good and bad. Science textbooks show us how to create a nuclear reaction, and yet they contain no chapter asking us if it's a good or bad idea. To science I say this: the church is tired. We are exhausted from trying to be your signposts. Our resources are drying up from our campaign to be the voice of balance as you plow blindly on the quest for smaller chips and larger profits. We ask not why you will not govern yourself, but how can you? You all move so fast that even stop for an instant to consider the implications of your actions. Someone more efficient will whip past you in a blur. So you move on. You proliferate weapons of mass destruction. But it's the Pope who travels the world beseeching leaders to use restraint. You clone living creatures. But it's the church reminding you, consider the moral implications of your action. You encourage people to interact on phones, video screens, and computers. But the church who opens its doors and reminds us to commune in person as we were meant to do. You even murder unborn babies in the name of research that will save lives. Again, it's the church that points out the fallacy of that reasoning. And all the while, you proclaim the church is ignorant. But who is more ignorant? The man who cannot define lightning, or the man who does not respect its awesome power? The church is reaching out to us, reaching out to everyone. And yet the more we reach out, the more you push us away. Show me proof there's a God, you say. I say, look to your telescopes, to the heavens, and tell me how you could not be a God. You ask, what does God look like? I say, where did the question come from? I say, where does the question come from? The answers are one and the same. Do you not see God in your science? How can you miss him? You proclaim that even the slightest change in the force of gravity and the weight of an atom would have rendered our universe a lifeless mist, rather than a magnificent sea of heavenly body. And yet you fail to see God's hand in this? Is it really so much easier to believe that we simply chose the right card, the deck of billions? Have we become so spiritually bankrupt that we would rather believe in mathematical impossibilities than in a power greater than us? Whether or not you believe in God, you must believe this. When we as a species abandon a trust in a power greater than us, we abandon our sense of accountability. Faith, all faiths, our admonition that there is something we cannot understand, something which are accountable. With faith, we are accountable to each other, to ourselves, and to a higher truth. Religion is flawed, but only because man is flawed. If the outside world could see this church as I do, looking beyond the ritual of these walls, they would see a modern miracle. A brotherhood of imperfect souls wanting to be a voice of compassion in a world spinning out of control. Are we obsolete? Are these men dinosaurs? Am I? Does the world really need a voice for the poor, the weak, the oppressed, the unborn child? We really need souls like these, who though imperfect, spend their lives imploring each of us to read the signposts of morality and not lose our way. Tonight we are perched upon a precipice. None of us can afford to be apathetic. Whether you see this evil as Satan, corruption, or immorality, the dark force is alive and growing every day. Do not ignore it. The force almighty is not invincible. Goodness can prevail. Listen to your hearts. Listen to God. God, together we can step back from the abyss. Pray with me. Oh God, I'm tired. Sergeant Philip Randolph, United States Air Force. You can see by the emotion in my voice. Hope somebody listens to this. Bye-bye and thank you. Signing off.